Oh, wait a minute. I'm live? Since when did I go live? Okay, so we're live, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Feel free to ask any questions. In fact, let me let me see if I could change the title of this. Um Historic, let me specify Northeast. There we go. Okay, guys, so we are completely live. Thank you for tuning in as we're going to talk about this winter storm that's happening right now throughout the Northeast. So let's begin. So here we are going into, here's the current radar with the snowfall rates, which is a very cool radar. It really goes to show how heavy or light the snow is. And so let's begin right around the New York City and New Jersey area, mainly experiencing light snowfall, right around 1/4 of an inch of snow per hour. But of course, that's going to change within the next few hours, as if we were to take a look at the nowcast radar, the snowfall will steadily increase, and then I'll say we'll really get into moderate snowfall for much of northern New Jersey and going into New York City right around the 8 p.m. time frame before we eventually see the heavier snowfall beyond that point. So let's move on to 9 p.m. Still around moderate snowfalls. 10 p.m. still moderate snowfall at this time, and yeah, it's going back to light based on this futurecast radar, but we could see a heavy snow band move in, likely right around maybe the 2 to 3 a.m. time frame, as I'll say that's when we should see the peak of the snowfall for much of northern New Jersey and New York City, where the heavy snow bands really begin to get going for much of the overnight on Monday. However, based on the latest trend we've been seeing for New York City and New Jersey, the latest computer models have been shifting their forecasts a little bit further eastward when it comes to the heaviest snow band. So that potentially could maybe limit the snow totals a little bit for much of the areas further westward into West Jersey, into maybe the Philadelphia and Delaware area, and going into much of eastern Pennsylvania, as the heavier snow bands might focus in more so right around Long Island, Connecticut, and much of Massachusetts. So you definitely want to be aware of that. Let me take a look at, okay, thank you guys for tuning in. By the way, guys, feel free to ask any questions regarding this winter storm for your specific location. I'll do my best to answer them in this video. So let me actually pull up the chat on my phone so I could see your guys' questions, so I could answer them live. So let me go to my YouTube channel right now, see the live stream. Okay, here we go. So I have it open now. Okay. Preparing for the worst, hoping for the best. How are you this evening? I'm doing very well, yeah. The snowfall, I'm right around northern New Jersey right now, so let's actually go back to where I'm at right now. So I'm near the Paterson, New Jersey area right now. We're experiencing light snowfall, and it's primarily a dusting outside. I plan to go out on the field relatively soon and do a live stream out there so you guys get a better picture of what's going on in northern New Jersey. So what will the snow totals be? Where exactly are you located, Lynn, right now? I'll do my best to answer your question, but let's take a look back at the radar. So taking a look right around the Maryland area, we're seeing moderate snowfall over Baltimore and Washington, D.C. For the most part, where the snowfall rates are anywhere between half of an inch to up to an inch per hour. So that definitely that's definitely enough to make the road conditions very dangerous. So if it's anywhere above a half of an inch of snowfall per hour, that's when the roads will be near impassable for a lot of these areas. So for Washington, D.C., Baltimore, you need to hunker down over these next few hours. Thankfully, the snowfall won't last as long for you guys. If we were to take a look at the future cast, the heaviest of the snowfall should end right around 10 p.m. So you have maybe around 5 more hours of this before it's all said and done right around the Baltimore and Washington, D.C. area. You'll see primarily light snowfall, but definitely not close to what you're experiencing right now for much of the Washington, D.C. and Baltimore area. And then moving our focus further eastward, we're seeing a pretty good moderate snow band right now, right over the Jersey Shore area. Atlantic City is now under heavy snowfall, actually, where the snowfall rates right over Atlantic City are right around an inch per hour. So the roads will definitely be impassable at this time, and this should last, like I said, all night for a lot of these areas. Going into Philadelphia, you're still right around a half an inch per hour for, over Philadelphia, so that's around moderate snowfall. But that will change as the snowfall, you'll notice, will get heavier within the next hour or two for Philadelphia. So just because it might look light right now for the Philadelphia area does not mean that will continue. And then shifting our focus further northward into Connecticut, light snowfall as of right now, as the snowfall is just beginning to approach the Bridgeport area, going into Danbury, going to New Haven, Madison, East Haddam, and Middletown. This is where the light snowfall is slowly approaching you guys into Bristol as well, as the snowfall will only continue to increase from here. And going into Long Island, still light snowfall, but if we were to see just to the south, the snow where there's a heavy snow band just to the south of you guys, and in terms of when that would move in, I'll say within the next hour that will move in, so expect the snowfall rates to get a little bit heavier for Long Island area, into Islip, into Brookhaven, into Long Beach, New York, and of course into New York City as well. And then going back into northern New Jersey, let's zoom in a little bit. By 6 p.m. time frame, still should be relatively light before we eventually see the moderate snow move in, likely right around the 8 p.m. time frame for much of northern New Jersey. Now, this is based on the GFS models scenario. In terms of the Icon model, it's a little bit heavier. So, and if we were to continue to move forward, we see a little bit more heavy snow bands in the Icon model than the GFS model. But the GFS model has been a little bit more accurate as recent. So I'd lean a little bit more to this as of right now. And then moving further southward into Delaware, into Maryland, you guys are under heavy snowfall right now, as this current snowfall forecast for you guys is right around 12 to 18 inches of snow. This includes Dover, this includes Salisbury, this includes Rehoboth Beach. Ocean City might be a little bit less, maybe around 8 to 12 inches, as there's a little bit of rain intrusion going on right over Ocean City. But regardless, this will be a very significant winter storm for you guys. In terms of the latest snowfall forecast from the National Weather Service, let's take a look at that right now. Let me refresh the page, and then is it gonna be laggy? Okay, here we go. So the National Weather Service is still very persistent on 18 to 24 inches of snowfall for much of Northeast, despite the shift we've been seeing a little bit further eastward from the computer models at this time. So still over right around 23 inches of snowfall expected for the Toms River area. Going into New York City, the current forecast is right around 19 to 20 inches of snowfall. Going into the Patterson, New Jersey area, right around 18 inches. Going into Newark, around 19 inches. And then let's go even further southward into Philadelphia. The current forecast is still 12 to 18 inches. So still a very significant snowstorm for you guys, as the snowfall accumulation shifted a little bit further eastward compared to a little bit earlier. But regardless, it's still a very impactful snowstorm. But we did see an increase in snow totals for much of the Massachusetts area, where now places like Brockton, going into the New Bedford area of Massachusetts, you guys are now expected to receive 24 to 36 inches of snowfall, which is very significant. And you guys only have a few hours left before the heavy snowfall really moves in. So if you have any last minute preparations, you need to do those right now, right over the New Bedford and Brockton area. And then going into Providence, similar amount, maybe around 2 feet of snow, which would be one of the biggest snowstorms in your history. And of course, Boston, the current forecast is 22 inches of snowfall. And if you were to take a look at the high-end snowfall forecast for Boston, and by the way, the high end is, let's say this ends up being on the top 10% of the possible snowfall amount that could accumulate, it would be around 30 inches of snowfall. Keep in mind, the biggest snowstorm in Boston's history was the President's Day snowstorm in 2023, around 23 years ago. 30 inches of snow on the high end would beat that record, but even if we see 22 inches of snowfall for Boston, that would still be one of the biggest snowstorms you've seen in your history over the city. So you need to take this storm system very seriously, because it's definitely going to be very dangerous. So going into the Worcester area, You should expect a good area of 24 to 30 inches of snowfall, so very significant snowfall for you guys. Let me take a look back at the chat. Okay, 12 viewers watching. Thank you guys all for watching. And by the way, if you're watching, feel free to ask any questions in case you're curious about how much snowfall you should expect, the exact forecast you should expect in your area. So definitely make sure to ask questions if you're curious about anything. I'm here to answer them in this video. But let's move on. Going into Connecticut, we're seeing the current forecast for much of Connecticut is still a large area of 18 to 24 inches. Hartford, it's a little bit less as a heavier snow bands likely will be a little bit further southward, but regardless, you should expect 12 to 18 inches, around 15 inches of snowfall is in the forecast right now. And now going into western Massachusetts, a good area of 12 to 18 inches as well. And now let's go on to Albany, where the snowfall won't be very significant, maybe around 5 to 8 inches of snowfall, but that's still enough to cause havoc on the roads and make travel a nightmare for a lot of these areas right around Albany. So you definitely don't want to underestimate this snowfall just because it might not be as big as what your neighbors further southward are experiencing. And now let's move on to the northern New Jersey, right around, like I said, 18, 24 inches of snowfall. And Delmar Peninsula, a good area of 12 to 18 inches for Rehoboth Beach, going into Salisbury, going into Dover. Very significant winter storm for you guys. And let's actually take a live look in New York City right now, as like I just showed you in the radar, we're experiencing light snowfall over New York City at this time. Taking a look back at Bryant Park, which is right around Midtown Manhattan, we're now starting to see the snowfall accumulate, where we're seeing a good amount of dusting right over the pavement now, starting to accumulate on the concrete. And on the grass, we likely maybe have around half of an inch of snow for New York City at this time. So this would definitely be so the snowfall is definitely accumulating at a very fast clip right around New York City. How much is Dover, Delaware getting? So Dover, Delaware, the current projection from National Weather Service is right around 12 to 18 inches. The current forecast is around 16 inches of snowfall. However, we have seen a shift from the computer models, like I said, where the snowfall is expected to move a little bit further eastward. Let's take a look at the forecasted radar from the GFS model to really get a better idea of how much snow Dover should get. But even with this eastward track, Dover will likely experience very heavy snowfall. So I'm still leaning towards the idea of 12 to 18 inches, but based on what I'm seeing with the radar right now, if we were to take a look at snowfall rates over Dover right now, it's around over an inch per hour, which is happening a little bit earlier than anticipated. And in terms of how long this will continue, if we were to do the math, this is just straight up 1 inch per hour snowfall rates for a very prolonged period before that eventually ends by 3 a.m. So it's around 5 a.m. right now, 7 hours till 12 a.m. And then assuming we get 1 inch per hour for the next, let's say, 10 hours, and it's going to be higher than 1 inch per hour. We could have hours where it's right around 2 inches per hour, close to that. I'm expecting maybe a little bit more than what the National Weather Service is currently forecasting. I'll say the total for Denver right now is around 19 inches of snowfall. So I'm more so, based on what I'm seeing with the radar, expecting 18 to 24 inches of snowfall for the Denver area, which would be one of the biggest snowstorms you've experienced in Denver in your history, which would be very, very impactful. But thank you for the question, Chris. For anyone else, feel free to ask any questions regarding how much snowfall accumulation in each in your specific area, maybe, or just in general for the Northeast, because I'm here to answer them based on what I'm seeing with the radar right now. But let's take a look back at the current radar for much of the Northeast. Going into Richmond, you're experiencing very heavy snowfall right now, and even as far south as North Carolina, you're getting involved with a good amount of snowfall. And then going into much of Maryland, we're seeing a good area of 1 inch per hour snowfall rates, but that's not the only threat we're worried about. Let's take a look at the wind right now. So these are sustained winds, keep in mind. We're already seeing sustained winds right around 20 in the Lakewood area, and now 30 mile per hour sustained winds right over Atlantic City. Going into the Cape May area, right around 30 to 32 mile per hour sustained winds. And in terms of wind gusts, we're seeing right around 42 in Atlantic City, right around 45 right in the Cape May area, and going even further northward, 30 mile per hour wind gusts over New York City now, and now approaching the Patterson area, where you're right around experiencing wind gusts around 29 miles per hour. Plainfield right around 29 miles per hour, and for Long Island, we're now seeing those 30 mile per hour wind gusts move in, and it's only going to get higher from here. Now, moving further southward, we're now experiencing close to 50 mile per hour wind gusts right over the Rehoboth Beach and the coast of Delaware in general right now. And going into much of Ocean City, we're experiencing 50 mile per hour wind gusts. And in terms of how much stronger the winds should get over the next few hours, look at this wind gust over Atlantic City. 62 mile per hour wind gusts are possible in Atlantic City. And then going into 12 a.m., we're seeing 45 mile per hour wind gusts over New York City. Moving even more forward, we're seeing close to 50 mile per hour wind gusts in New York City, much of Long Island, much of northern New Jersey. And so this will be a very significant event when it comes to how strong the winds will get over a lot of these areas. And in terms of even stronger wind gusts, we could see wind gusts up to 80 in Montauk and right around the Cape Cod area of Massachusetts. So power outages are possible, especially if you live closer to the coast. Connecticut, a lot of areas should expect wind gusts around 50 miles per hour and maybe flirting with 60 in the eastern portion of Connecticut. Boston, of course, 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts. So very strong winds we're seeing all throughout much of the Northeast, which is another thing you need to be concerned about. So let's take a look back at the radar, and now we're starting to see the heavy snowfall now move into Long Island at this time, where this heavy snowfall developed relatively fast, and now we're seeing a small heavy snow band approach much of northern New Jersey at this time, where Newark, the snowfall should begin to get a little bit more heavy for you guys, as we're seeing somewhat darker shades of blue over central New Jersey at this time, and then into Long Island. Of course, New York City will get involved with that relatively soon, and going into much of northern New Jersey, the snowfall will get relatively heavier over the next few hours. And now going into southern New Jersey, Toms River, and much of right around the Vineland area, you're under a heavy snow band where this snowfall band could produce over an inch per hour snowfall rates, which is very significant and will make roads very impassable right over much of southern New Jersey. So you need to hunker down at this point, because now the heavy snow bands are beginning to develop for much of southern New Jersey. Philadelphia, you're under light snowfall right now, but look at this heavy snow band just to the southeast of you guys. The snow bands are going to come from the east, so eventually this will approach Philadelphia, likely within the next 30 to 45 minutes. So if the snowfall doesn't look that heavy right now for Philadelphia and you think you could drive in it, think again, because this heavy snow band is right around the corner for you guys over Philadelphia. And now going into other portions of eastern Pennsylvania, we're seeing a moderate snow band right now. But again, this heavy snow band is right around the corner for you guys within the next hour or two. It should likely weaken by the time it approaches this far west, but it still should bring heavier snowfall rates along with it, even if it does weaken. So keep that in mind right around the Pottstown area, into Radnor area, into Westtown as well. And same goes for the Wilmington area. And guys, by the way, if you're just tuning in, feel free to ask any questions regarding this winter storm, regarding the next winter storm even. Feel free to ask anything regarding how much snowfall your area could potentially receive, the timing of the snowfall, really anything regarding these next few winter storms, or this winter storm moving through. So yeah, guys, the snowfall is really going to get going relatively soon for much of New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Connecticut. So you need to hunker down, because I'm definitely keeping a close eye on this heavy snow band right over much of Long Island at this time. Quickly approaching the northeast, where eventually New Jersey will get involved. I'm looking out my window right now. The window is just behind this webcam, and I'm definitely now noticing the snowfall getting heavier in my location in northern New Jersey. And I will go live, by the way, regarding out on the field regarding this winter storm to show you guys how it's like here in northern New Jersey. But it's really starting to pick up now in my area. So, by the way, let's take a look at how Philadelphia is looking like right now. To really get a good idea of how the snowfall accumulation is. So let's take a look at webcam. So let's take a look here. So here's a look at Philadelphia at this time. Okay, can't really see much of it, so let's try another webcam. Going into this webcam, so here's one. We're starting to see a snowfall accumulation over the grass mainly. Not over the pavement just yet, but expect that to change because, like I said, this heavy snow band is right around the corner for you guys from Philadelphia. Within the next 30 to 45 minutes, it should approach you guys. Let me take a look back at the chat. Oh, okay, so here's a look at the radar. Now the snowfall is really getting heavier for Long Island, I'm noticing. Heavier than I expected. Let's take a look back at the Futurecast radar to give you guys a better idea of, okay, so now apparently I can't even, okay, here's the GFS model. So yeah, we see the heavy snow bands move in. Yeah, very devastating storm we're seeing for much of the Northeast. One of the biggest snowstorms I've personally seen in a very long time. Let me take a look back at the chat. Thank you guys all, by the way, for tuning in. Feel free to ask any questions or feel free to comment anything regarding this winter storm in the chat. I'm here to answer them for you because I want to keep you guys safe. I want to keep you guys weather aware. And I want to give you guys the latest updates regarding this winter storm because my previous forecast videos, they did give a general idea of what's going to happen, but things could definitely change when we're actually in the snowstorm regarding the trajectory of this storm system and how strong the snow bands will be. So feel free to ask anything if you're curious about anything regarding the snowstorm in your specific location or just in general. So let's take a look all throughout much of the Northeast at this time. So we're also seeing a good amount of snow showers develop for much of the Midwest. They're primarily light flurries for the most part, so nothing much to worry about here. But yeah, this heavy snow band, definitely keeping a close eye on this for much of Long Island and going into New Jersey as well. Let's take a look back at the Philadelphia webcam. So yeah, not much when it comes to snowfall accumulation, primarily on the grass, but like I said, expect that to change relatively soon. Let's take a look at another cam. So okay, this doesn't really show the snow, but yeah, here is how Philadelphia looks right now. Some accumulation going on, likely maybe around half of an inch of snow has accumulated right over the grassy areas at least. So yeah, definitely keep that in mind in a lot of these areas. So let's take a look actually at another city where we could potentially see how the snowfall looks. So let me just pick one and see. We could try out Bridgeport, see how Bridgeport is looking when it comes to snowfall. I'll keep this Bridgeport, Connecticut. Yeah, let me take a look at webcam to give you guys a good idea of how much snowfall accumulation we're seeing right now. So yeah, Bridgeport isn't necessarily a huge city, but we could take a look at Waterbury, which also gives. So this is Waterbury as of right now. We do see at least some snowfall accumulation. Let's take a look. Okay, so these are just still images. Maybe WeatherBug has some live. So this I-95 at Bridgeport, we are seeing a little bit of snowfall accumulation on the grass. So the snowfall is beginning to approach the Bridgeport area of Connecticut. So definitely keep that in mind in a lot of these areas. So let me take a look at the chat real quick one more time. Feel free to ask any questions, everybody, in case you're just tuning in. And let's take a look at the latest runs of the computer models because there have been some key changes regarding the latest one. So let's take a look at the Northeast. So here's the latest run of the GFS model 18.0. Let's see what it's expecting. So it seems like it's expecting the heaviest snowfall to be located right over the Delmar Peninsula, much of the Jersey Shore, and the eastern tip of Long Island. But still, New York City and Northern New Jersey and Philadelphia do get involved with a good amount of snowfall out of this. And then moving even more forward, we also see a good amount of heavy snow bands move into Rhode Island and the southeastern portion of Massachusetts. Boston gets a little bit involved. And in terms of the current snowfall forecast from the GFS model, here's the latest look at that. So we have seen a pretty big change with the GFS model as of recent. For much of northern New Jersey, it was expecting more so around 12 to 18 inches. It has lowered it because the GFS model is now expecting the storm system to move a little bit further eastward, but still, there's right around 10 to 14 inches of snowfall for much of northeastern New Jersey. New York City is still around 12 to 18 inches of snowfall, but based on National Weather Service's forecast, it's still very confident we should see a good area of 18 to 24 inches for New York City. So I'd lean a little bit more to National Weather Service's forecasts as of right now. And in terms of the Euro model, let's take a quick look at that. The Euro model is still expecting a good amount of heavy snowfall for much of the eastern United States. Now very similar to the GFS model at this point, but it's expecting even more snowfall for the Boston area now than the GFS model is, which is definitely very interesting to really take into account. Let's take a look at the European model's forecast. So let's refresh. We could, okay, so let's take a quick look at that. So in terms of the European model's forecast, maybe around a foot for New York City, over a foot for the Jersey Shore, much of New Jersey, a good area of 8 to 12 inches, same goes for Philadelphia, and over a foot right now for the Boston area. So this would be very impactful for a lot of these areas. Let's take a look back at the current radar. Any updates, and I'm really beginning to see the snowfall really get heavy towards New York City area now as the snow bands are really beginning to develop. So you need to keep that in mind in New York City. At this point, you need to hunker down. It was light snowfall for much of the day, but now the heavier snow bands are beginning to move into New York City. So you definitely want to stay aware of this right over that area. Let's take a look back at Bryant Park to see any. So now I'm definitely beginning to see the changes with this the snowfall accumulation, at least over the pavement right now. I'm starting to definitely see the pavement a little bit more covered now with the snowfall accumulation than when I checked on it even only 10 minutes ago. So we're definitely seeing huge changes now for much of New York City when it comes to the exact amount of snowfall accumulation. So things will definitely get much worse for New York. And let's take a look back at the Futurecast radar. So this is right around 7 p.m. We're now seeing the heavy snow bands really move in. As I'll say, they'll get really heavy by around the 8 p.m. time for New York City and much of northern New Jersey. And same goes for Long Island. And moving even more forward, we could see this last all night for New York City and northern New Jersey. So very heavy snow we're seeing in this run of the Futurecast radar. Let me take a look at the live stream, see if everything's going good. Okay, yeah, everything is going good so far, which is definitely great. Thank you guys, everyone, for tuning in so far. Now right around 90 minutes in, or 30 minutes in, excuse me. But feel free to ask any questions if you're just tuning in. I'm here to answer them for this live stream to give you guys the most in-detail forecast regarding what you should expect in your specific area as of right now. So yeah, let's take a look back at the current wind speed. So let's move back to right now. So here are the current wind gusts, mostly over 30 for much of southern New Jersey. In northern New Jersey, a good area of 20 to 30 mile per hour wind gusts right now. I'm starting to see the trees sway right in front of me. There's a window right behind this webcam you see. The trees are starting to sway now, I'm noticing, along with that heavier snow moving in. Same goes for Long Island, 30 mile per hour wind gusts. But let's take a look at the wind gusts off the coast, 50 miles per hour. But this will only intensify, where we could see wind gusts right around 30 miles, right around close to 80 miles per hour in a lot of these areas off the coast. So let's continue to move forward. Let's try to find the area where there's the highest amount of wind gusts. So this should strengthen even more. So yeah, 80, 81 mile per hour wind gusts associated with this winter storm. And we could even be flirting with 90 mile per hour wind gusts, which is quite insane. And in terms of sustained winds, we're seeing sustained winds close to 70 miles per hour. And to put that in perspective, if this were hurricane season, this would be considered borderline a Category 1 hurricane when it comes to sustained wind speed alone. And that wouldn't even put into perspective how strong that storm is, because with typical Category 1 hurricanes, the wind field is a lot stronger, with that area of sustained 75 mile per hour winds being relegated to a very small, maybe 20 square mile area. This is having sustained winds of near 70 miles per hour over hundreds of miles, which really goes to show how powerful this storm system is. This would be equivalent, more so closer to the power of a low-end Category 3 hurricane based on just the scope of the winds alone, which is definitely quite insane how powerful this winter storm is. Of course, with that, you should expect coastal flooding all throughout the Northeast. So definitely keep that in mind if you're right up along the coast. When East Coast will be done with snow, East Coast, when the East Coast will be done with snow, it's still too early to say at this time. We're likely going to get another winter storm by the time we approach the Tuesday timeframe, which should bring a good area of 1-3 inches of snowfall. Let's take a look back at the European models. Long-term forecast to really give you guys a better idea of when the snow will end for much of the Northeast. So we're going to have another winter storm approach right around the late Tuesday into early Wednesday timeframe. I expect a good area of 1-3 inches of snowfall. Definitely not as much as what we're seeing with this winter storm, but definitely something you want to at least still be aware of. And then what's even more scary is that by the time we approach the Thursday timeframe, we could be in for another winter storm for much of the same areas, which could bring more significant snowfall. Based on what I'm seeing, at least with this radar, this would bring a good area of 5 to 8 inches of snowfall for New Jersey, New York City, going into Pennsylvania, and even into Connecticut as well. Moving even more forward, this brings snowfall to a lot of the same areas. So that could be concerning that winter might not be done yet. We also have another far-fetched winter storm by the time we approach the March 2nd time frame, and we could be in for a winter storm pattern based on position of the jet stream I'm seeing. I'll definitely keep you guys updated once we get more certainty with these next few winter storms, but this one I'll say is very likely by the time we approach the early Wednesday time frame for New York City, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts. So you want to be aware of that. Let's take a look at the GFS model snowfall forecast, at least for that winter storm. So very similar to what the European model is stating. So this does mean that there's a high amount of confidence regarding this winter storm. So let me take a look at the 24-hour snowfall just so we get a better idea of how much this specific winter storm will produce. So mainly, like I said, an area of 1-3 inches for northern New Jersey, New York City, going into Pennsylvania as well. So you want to be aware of that. And beyond that point, with the GFS model, like I said, another winter storm is possible this Thursday. The GFS model is still a little bit more aggressive, taking the rain snow line a little bit further northward, but Boston still receives a good amount of snowfall out of this. But this is primarily an interior northeast threat, which would bring heavier snowfall for Buffalo and much of the interior northeast rather than the coastal northeast like New York City, Boston, Connecticut, New Jersey, and Philadelphia. So I'll keep you guys updated once we get a bit more certainty with the forecast, but likely we're not going to be done with the snowfall after this winter storm in the Northeast. So let me take a quick look at the chat right now. I'm tired of the cold. Weather is getting old. I'm so glad winter is over when. So yeah, I get it. It's been a very cold winter for much of the Northeast. In fact, this is the coldest winter for New Jersey, New York City in around 30 years. The last time the average temperature was this cold for New Jersey and New York City area was back in 1996. So we're talking about a 30-year period where this winter is the coldest we've seen in history. So you definitely want to be aware of. That for much of the Northeast. Yeah, it's been a very rough winter. And unfortunately, it's likely not going to end just yet because we have another winter storm that should move through this Tuesday and another potential this Thursday for a lot of the same areas getting impacted by this winter storm. But let's take a look back at the current radar. So now I'm definitely beginning to see this snow band over southern New Jersey, now approaching Long Island, begin to mature at this point, where we're seeing snowfall rates around an inch and a half per hour right over the Lakewood area, right around Toms River. And in Philadelphia, the snow band is quickly approaching you guys. Within the next 30 minutes, likely it will approach the area. And for New York City, I'll say within the next hour, you should expect this heavy snow band to move in, as snow bands are going to come from an easterly to westerly direction. Much of northern New Jersey into Newark, into central New Jersey, into the Patterson area. It's still light snowfall for the most part, but look at the heavy snow bands just to the east of you guys. That will eventually approach you guys within the next hour or two for much of northern New Jersey. So keep that in mind in those areas. And by the way, guys, if you're just tuning in, feel free to ask any questions regarding this winter storm. I'm here to answer them and here to give you guys the latest information regarding this winter storm based on what I'm seeing with the current radar. And taking a look back at the Delaware Peninsula, still snowfall rates well over an inch per hour at this time. And going into Washington, D.C., same thing, very similar snowfall rates we're seeing. And now going into Connecticut, the light snowfall is beginning to approach you guys at this time. Let's take a look back at the live webcam over New York City. We're quickly seeing the snowfall begin to accumulate on the pavement right over Midtown Manhattan at this time. Where when I saw this webcam just 10 minutes ago, it wasn't this, the snowfall accumulation wasn't this widespread over the pavement. I'm definitely starting to see it differently now over much of Midtown Manhattan. And now, take a look at the Philadelphia webcam. So let's take a look at that real quick. So yeah, it's hard to see from this angle, but still not much snowfall over the pavement. But I'm starting to see slight snowfall accumulation over the pavement now in Philadelphia. So that snowfall accumulation is quickly getting higher for much of Philadelphia, and will only get higher once this heavy snow band moves in within the next 30 minutes. And taking a look at Bridgeport right now. So it's really hard to see. I wish there were better webcams than this. So yeah, back to the radar. Heavy snow band expecting to move in relatively soon for New York City and much of northern New Jersey. Let me take a look back at. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Got a good amount of 17 viewers. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask any questions regarding this winter storm. If you're just tuning in, here's Washington, D.C., here's Baltimore. And now we're beginning to see the rain intrusion move into much of Virginia now, which was expected. And yeah, the storm system is really beginning to mature. Let's take a look back at the winds. Here's the current sustained winds, mostly around 20 to 30 up along the Jersey Shore. Right around 20 mile per hour sustained winds for Patterson. And for much of northern New Jersey, sustained winds hovering around 15 to 20 miles per hour. Long Island, mainly 20 to 25 mile per hour sustained winds. Wind gusts, however, they're definitely higher, where we're seeing wind gusts around 30 miles per hour, but later tonight, right around midnight, we should begin to see 50 mile per hour wind gusts for New York City. Let's take a look back at, let's take a look forward to see when you should expect the 40 mile per hour wind gusts for New York City. So continue to move forward. I'll say the winds will really get strong likely by the 11 to 12 a.m. time frame, where that's when we should see the wind gusts exceed 40 miles per hour for New York City, much of New Jersey. And up along Jersey Shore, we should see wind gusts exceed 60 miles per hour right up along Atlantic City, going to Long Beach. So expect the winds to increase significantly by the time we approach 11 p.m. to the midnight time. So let me take a look back at the chat real quick. So here's a look at the radar right now. And we see a good area of 1 to 2 inches per hour right now, much over southern New Jersey into Long Island as well. And going to Del Mar Peninsula, a good area of 1 inch per hour snowfall rates. And let's take a look back at the National Weather Service's latest snowfall accumulation forecast. And yeah, still the same for the National Weather Service. Still persistent on a good area of 18 to 24 inches for New York City, New Jersey. Philadelphia, it did reduce a little bit, but still around 16 inches of snowfall is expected for Philadelphia. And now going into Massachusetts, we're seeing a good area of 24 to 30 inches of snowfall for Brockton, going into New Bedford, going into Worcester. So much of the same we've been seeing over the past several hours regarding the snowfall accumulation forecast, despite the GFS and the European model shifting their snowfall a little bit further eastward than initially anticipated. So this could be historic in a lot of areas in the Northeast. Going into now the Hudson River Valley, going into Poughkeepsie, going into Newburgh, going into Kingston, still a good area of 12 to 18 inches of snowfall as of right now. So very significant snow we're seeing. We're expecting to see from much of the Hudson River Valley or the southern portion of upstate New York. And same goes to the Del Mar Peninsula, into Dover, into the Ocean City area, 12 to 18 inches of snow. And back to the current radar. Yeah, this heavy snow band's really going to get going for New York City within the next 30 minutes. So we're going to see a much different New York City in the webcam within the next hour, I'd say. And let's take a look. Here's Maryland right now. Here's Delaware, heavy snowfall. Light snowfall right now over Atlantic City, Ocean City, Wildwood. You're now approaching the moderate snowfall range. And yeah, this is very significant. Still a good amount of... Let's take a look at the snowfall rate right over Ocean City. This snowfall rate is close to 3 inches per hour over Ocean City right now, which is quite insane. And the roads will definitely be impossible to drive in when we're talking about a snowfall rate this heavy, a snowband this heavy. It's expected to end soon for Ocean City, though. This snowfall will eventually move into the Northeast. But yeah, crazy stuff, guys, we're seeing for much of the Northeast. I definitely wouldn't risk going out in this snowfall at all. Just way too heavy right now. And here's another update. This heavy snow band, again, continuing to move further northeast. We're now approaching the Long Beach area of Long Island. And soon Queens will be the first impacted before we eventually see the snow band move into lower Manhattan, going into the Bronx as well, and then eventually into New Jersey or the New York City metropolitan area of New Jersey and Staten Island, of course. So let me take a look back at the chat, see if there's any new questions. Feel free to ask any. Will we see winter storm on March 8th for the Outer Banks? So let's take a look back at the GFS model at this time. So let me zoom out a little bit. So this does include North Carolina. So moving more forward, let's go into March 8th. So the GFS model doesn't go that far out just yet. However, by March 8th, it seems likely that we're going to see a warm pattern develop finally for the eastern United States. So that does reduce the chance that the Outer Banks will experience a winter storm on March 8th. And taking a look at what the European model states about this, the European model does bring that possibility of a winter storm, maybe to the Outer Banks on March 8th, which would definitely be very concerning. But it's way too far out to say for certain. So just stay tuned for further updates once you get closer to the event, because when we're talking about a forecast that's beyond the 300-hour mark, it becomes a guess at this point. But what I could say that by March 8th, there will at least be some sort of storm system moving through. Depending on where exactly that jet stream dips, that will determine whether North Carolina experienced snowfall and other areas of the Northeast experience snowfall by March 8th. But it's still too early to say for certain. So I'll keep you guys updated once we get a little bit more certainty with this potential winter storm on March 8th. But just know that there is a possibility maybe right around that time period, Sunday, March 8th, of at least some sort of storm system moving through. Might be snow, might be rain, might be light rain, might be heavy rain. Still too early to say for certain this far out, but just be aware of that possibility on March 8th. Taking a look back at the radar. Yeah, still much of the same. The snow band's quickly maturing for much of Long Island and going into New Jersey, so very crazy stuff we're seeing. Let me take a look back at the chat. Hartford, Connecticut, the capital of Connecticut, is starting to come down in modern snow, and it's starting to cover. So, okay, so yeah, right over Hartford, we're now seeing the light snowfall approach you guys. Not very heavy at this time, but if we were to take a look further southward into New Haven, into Bridgeport, we're now seeing the heavier snow bands move in. In terms of when you could expect the snowfall to move into the Hartford, Connecticut area, I'll say the heavy snow bands will begin to move in likely. Let's take a look at the GFS's models. Likely right around the 9 to 10 p.m. time tonight for Hartford. That's when we really should get to see the heavy snowfall move in. In fact, let's take a look at the webcam in Hartford to get a good idea of what's going on when it comes to the snowfall accumulation. So Hartford, Connecticut webcam. So hopefully there's a good webcam for this one. So let's see if there is. Okay, so yeah, we are seeing a decent amount of snowfall accumulation over Hartford right now. This could be from last week's snowstorm too, so I'm not 100% sure. It's hard to see with the resolution that looks like from 1995, but I'm doing my best here to really determine what's going on with when it comes to this quality. But seems like there is a decent amount of snowfall. Seems like the snowfall is beginning for the Hartford, Connecticut area, and like I said, it will only get worse from here. Or maybe I should press play. That would help. So, yeah, can't really... Okay, so this... So, let's see. Okay, so it seems like the snowfall accumulation is primarily from the snowfall accumulation from the snowstorm we had weeks prior. Still on the ground for Hartford, so it's really hard to determine how much it's actually snowing right there. But it seems like it's snowing right now relatively lightly over Hartford. Back to the current radar. And let me take a look back at the chat right now. And yeah, guys, if you're just tuned in, feel free to ask any questions. I'm here to answer them. I love answering your guys' questions. So, yeah, feel free to ask anything. Ooh. Yeah, I've been going live for an hour. My voice is... I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit, so bear with me. But yeah, a lot to talk about when it comes to this winter storm. Yeah, moderate snowfall right now over much of Long Island. Soon to approach New York City, where it could fall in the form of heavy snowfall. It's starting to get dark now, so I can't really see what's going on outside right behind this camera. The window is right in front of me. But yeah, from what I last saw from the daylight around my area in northern New Jersey, the snowfall was definitely beginning to pick up. And now I'm starting to see it pick up slightly for northern New Jersey, especially the northeastern portion, where the snowfall rate for most of the day was right around 1/10 of an inch per hour. Now we're approaching 1/2 of an inch of snow per hour, which is still considered relatively light snowfall, but it's definitely picking up compared to what we've been seeing all day for much of northern New Jersey. Going into southern New Jersey, yeah, this heavy snowband's really maturing. And then behind this snowband, we are seeing somewhat of a slot of somewhat lighter precipitation. But this storm system is still maturing. Keeping a close eye on this snowband here as well. This will only move further northwestward, so eventually Long Island will get involved. Maybe Connecticut, maybe the Hudson River Valley in the more long-term future, and even northern New Jersey and New York City. And just south of that, we're seeing a lot of the heavy snowbands more so consolidate right now over the Delmar Peninsula. And of course, that will definitely move northward. And not only these pre-existing snowbands, but we will eventually see even more heavy snowbands develop as the storm system continues to rapidly intensify. Let's take a look at the temperatures. Yeah, the temperature is right now hovering around freezing, slightly above freezing right up along the coast, but snowfall could still accumulate in above freezing temperatures. Because the snowfall, all it needs to do is just stick on the ground, and as the snowfall melts, it extracts heat away. It extracts the latent heat away from the surface as well as the air surrounding it, so although the air temperature might be above 32 degrees, the snowfall accumulating and melting on the surface would reduce the temperature to below 32 degrees, which is the reason why, despite the fact that the air temperature is above 32, the surface is cold enough to support for accumulating snowfall. So we're seeing that over Atlantic City right now, and much of these areas experiencing snowfall in above freezing temperatures. In fact, let's take a look at a webcam for Atlantic City to really get a good idea of what's going on. Atlantic City webcam. Yeah, hopefully there's a good webcam. Fox is very reliable when it comes to webcams, so I do believe this will be a good webcam, or at least a webcam good enough. So, but unfortunately, there's no light, so it's hard to see. So, we're going to do our best to interpret this, but I am seeing somewhat good snowfall accumulation right up along the sand. But yeah, really hard to see with not much light out there. And there's a time lapse, so okay. So yeah, it doesn't really show much when it comes to snowfall right there, but it is like the Atlantic City is experiencing right around moderate to light snowfall right now. And let's see if there's a better city where we could get a good idea. Okay, Cape May, there's a webcam there. And we can't see that one either. So, yeah, we definitely need some more webcams and people to put webcams in better locations, because I can't see anything or really interpret anything out of these webcams. So, Rehoboth Beach will try. Hopefully this one's the one that will give us a good view. Not much either. Wildwood, New Jersey. Is this the one? We'll see. Okay, this is actually a pretty good webcam. We're now seeing the snowfall accumulate on the boardwalk at this time. The sand, we're seeing a good amount of snowfall. I'd say maybe around an inch of snow has accumulated over Wildwood. It's hard to say for certain, though. It's because it's still relatively zoomed out, but this is the best we could get at this time when it comes to webcam. So Wildwood, New Jersey, around an inch to 2 has accumulated, and of course things will only get worse with snowfall rates even heavier. So you look back at the radar. Precipitation, or yeah, here we go. And yeah, the heavy snow band is soon to approach Wildwood at this time. Look at this heavier band that's just off the coast. Definitely going to be impossible to drive in Cape May and Wildwood within the next hour once this heavy snow band moves in. But yeah, guys, That's it for now for this live stream, because I plan to eventually go out on the field to show you guys what's actually happening right around my area in North New Jersey. So stay tuned for that once I go live and really show you guys what's happening in North New Jersey. Better coverage than what these webcams are showing us, that tried to show us in this video. So you definitely won't see weather quality that bad in this area of Jersey, because you guys got me to watch. You guys got the good webcam setup. So yeah, so stay tuned for that live stream once I go live out on the field to show you guys how much snowfall is over North New Jersey. So yeah, guys, thank you for tuning in. I'll make sure to go live out on the field, and I might go live again showing you guys the radar and any live updates regarding this winter storm. But I hope you guys all have a great day, and stay tuned for more updates. Let me see.